Hey, Loka.
Hey,
Hello. Good
how's
evening.
good evening? Yes, how are you? Good morning over there, right?
I'm in Melbourne, so it is good evening for me as well.
Oh, really? What is the time over there?
It's 4:30 p.m.,
Okay, yeah.
but it is later for you. Sajani, thank you so much for joining us on a Friday night where you could have been partying it up at home.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
partying it up at home clearly because there's nowhere else to be.
but no, I'm really honored to have finally at least virtually met you because
Yeah,
I've been to Colombo Cooperative, but I've never gotten the chance to meet you.
yeah.
But let's start so that I can get you to bed and go to sleep early.
Okay.
Sajani, for the people who are joining, this is Sajani. She is the founder of Colombo Cooperative, but also the founder of this new initiative called Cola Goodies, which I'm excited to hear more about.
Yeah.
She moved to the US with a full scholarship and she quit her job at Microsoft to start Colombo Cooperative as well. She clearly does not mind taking risks, which is why I'm super excited to talk to her. Sajani, for the viewers, who are you? What do you do today? And what is Colombo Cooperative and Cola Goodies?
So obviously born and raised in Sri Lanka, Go Lanka. And then I came to the US for university about 10 years ago. And after university, I started working at Amazon. And then after Amazon, I was at Microsoft. At Microsoft, I was there for 4 years. All during even when I was at Microsoft, I was just like, playing around doing some e-commerce shops. Like I always was doing something on my own at the same time. I loved working in corporate. Like I was not a person who I said, because some people are like, oh, I hate corporate. I wasn't that. I loved what I was doing, but I really wanted to also explore um, kind of the entrepreneurship side of me. And Colombo Co-op kind of came about just because I saw that a lot of my network and how I um, got to, even whatever the little I achieved on this side of the world was mainly because of networking and people being open to networking and meeting so many different people. And I wanted to do kind of started with like networking events in Sri Lanka. And then I just realized like, oh, there's really no co-working landscape over there. And so we were one of the first co-working spaces to come in and introduce actually networking and events and really community focused collaboration. And Colombo Co-op started in May 2018. We soft launched and it's been awesome. Obviously, right now it's closed, and I know it's going to be a tough time for any, business that is in a physical space. But it's been really exciting, and it's very rewarding to see how far we've come, and yeah, and how far Sri Lanka has come to in terms of everything that has happened over there in just 2 years. And yeah, and I
Amazing.
started Cola because I live between like I mean I mostly live in San Francisco. I go to Sri Lanka a lot because of Colombo Co-op, and and Cola Goodies came about, and Cola stands for, in Sinhalese, Cola means greens and leaves and the color green. And that came about because of in the US at least, there's a lot of movement of these health products that we kind of grew up with just and took for granted, right? Like turmeric, everyone's like, oh my God, turmeric. Like, what is that? I'm like, we eat it a lot. And so, and I was just like, there in the US, there is no person or like a brand. A lot of these consumer brands didn't actually grow up having these. So I was like, look, we might as well bring our own stuff here. So that's how that came about.
Amazing, amazing. And like, I just want to say, like, Colombo Cooperative was like a beautiful, beautiful space. Like, you told me that I could go work there whenever I wanted and stuff like that. But obviously, I was on holiday at that time, so I was just like moving around all the time. But I just want to talk about the corporate co-working spaces for a moment. Obviously, after Colombo Corp started up, now there's like heaps of co-working spaces coming up, and more corporates also seeing that that's a more affordable way and a lean way of working as well.
Yeah.
What do you say? Obviously, even one of your slogans is like collaboration, not competition.
Yeah.
But obviously, there is competition within the co-working space itself.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that competition? Obviously, outside of what's going on right now,
Yeah.
how do you see yourself dealing with the competition? You don't have to give us all your secrets, but like an overall view of it.
Just the overall view, I think it's very interesting at the beginning. If you come in and if you establish a set of values and what you stand for and what success looks like to you, then competition becomes a little like you should be aware of them. You should always be friends with your competition, not just because you know of anything else, but it's good working practice and professional to be that way. But if you understand your set of values and why you started, and you didn't start just because you wanted to do it, you know, there was a purpose behind and a gap behind why you started it, then the competition becomes a little irrelevant in when you're doing your day-to-day things. Almost that's just kind of how I see it. And I think the pie is big enough that you know, we should always come to the table with a mindset of abundance, right? Like I think there is enough to go around for everyone. And the more there is of co-working, like, you know, at the beginning when we first started co-working, we had to educate a lot of people about what co-working spaces were. I remember going around like talking to like people, landlords, right? And they had no idea what it was, and I had to like explain it. But now, because of the fact that there are so many and it's becoming a more mainstream thing, we don't have to spend our money actually on marketing and teaching people about what co-working is. We just have to differentiate ourselves and stand with our values. So I think one is definitely thinking in that mindset of what good is it bringing to the economy or the ecosystem as a whole. But also, even during these tough times, right now, when things have closed, there's nothing much happening when you're a co-working space. You can kind of differentiate, like, and understand who started a co-working space just because they wanted to build a beautiful space and not really solve a problem. Because you could see the ones who really were solving a problem, adapted very quickly, and knew that the reason why we started a co-working space was to give value to the community. And whether we have a space or not, we are still doing it. Colombo Cooperative has a lot of virtual events that is happening right now. And because our whole purpose as to how we wanted to do this was, we want to give value, we want to create workshops, we want to create connections, we want to bring exposure, right? And when you go, you just, during any tough time, you just have to go back to that root and understand, okay, now what is the course? This is our reality. This is why we started. And in this reality, here's how we are going to play. And that's kind of now you can see really, like, if you look at the landscape, that's one thing I learned is like we stayed true to why we started it, and we are delivering value even when there is no physical space. You know, we're digitally giving that value.
Absolutely, and you're the first ones, I think, who came out by doing the webinars. So yesterday you guys had a webinar as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like you said, you're building community. So that's continuing to build that community on a virtual space as well and adapting to the situation that you're in. So good job. So I also want to talk about like networking. So in Sri Lanka, personally, from a personal perspective, I didn't see the value of networking. I didn't see the value of leveraging networks, making new connections, all of those things. I only realized the value of it when I came to Australia and when I just networked every damn day last year, which led me to do amazing things the start of this year and the end of last year. Because I went to
on the TEDx talk as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But like, what I'm trying to say is most of the networking sessions I went for were at a co-working space. So they were utilizing their space to run networking sessions. And then obviously they talk about like what they do within that space as well. So being in a co-working space, it gives you that opportunity for you to network with the people who work around you, but also hold networking sessions, like such as events like the virtual networking session that you had. So, can you tell us why networking is so important, especially in Sri Lanka, for the people who are not so sure about why networking is important?
Yeah, I think so, a lot, and let's set out by like what is actually networking. And I think a lot of people are talking about networking like, oh, going out, taking business cards, and like, that whole set of networking. For me, I surely did that networking at maybe earlier on in my career, just to like, you're gathering numbers. But later on, it became more of a thing of really quality over quantity. And I actually honestly am like, if I can go to a networking event and talk to two really interesting people and walk away from that night, that is a success for me. So so it's not, networking gets a bad rep because it's like, oh, you're just going there saying hi to everyone. It's like, no, just go out there, make two great connections, and just keep nourishing your network in that way. And I think so there is a statistic out there that I've read. A lot of people who actually get jobs, it's not based on like their friends referring. It's actually like, let's say one degree away of people referring you to jobs, right? One, it's just the basic of the more people you know, the chances of you getting into places or the opportunities that you want to get into is higher, just because that is like, it's a numbers game, right? So your friends can't be doing everything in the world, so you better go out there and meet people who are doing different things in the world that it might be helpful in the long run. And the other kind of rule of networking is like, don't go there just to take everything, like, just don't take. Go with a mindset to give, and honestly like build an awesome relationship with this person and be really interested in what they're doing, because those become the more memorable conversations that you will end up having. And so that it's basic as that. Like the reason why networking is important is because it will give you a diverse network of people, basically. That, let's say you needed, what's the interesting thing that I got that so here's an example. I asked a friend actually to introduce me to someone who is a cinnamon, like in the cinnamon industry. And he's like, okay, here, just talk to this guy and see, right? And then that guy, I was talking to the cinnamon guy, and the cinnamon guy, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm looking for this type of like a manufacturer. If you know someone, let me know. And they're like, oh, well, no, we do that type of manufacturing. And then I ended up hiring them. So it was just like, these unintended consequences happen. And that's why we say it's important to network. And it's important to build your like tribe, because you never know where you will meet your co-founder, where you'll meet your developer, where you'll meet your next teammate or hiring person, right? You just have to come into those situations. And sometimes, if we have startup founders in our audience, like some actually, like if you want funding happening, then a lot of the VCs, at least in San Francisco, mainly mostly invest in people who at least the founders know or like is connected in some way or the other, because then it's almost like a pre-vetting of people coming to them to pitch. So it's just things like that, but it comes down to the numbers and like having a diverse.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think just to add to that, like even according to Australia, 70% of jobs are not advertised. So literally people are competing for a 30% job pool when 70% of jobs are through networking and references.
Yeah.
So like even in Sri Lanka, it's who you know, like all the networks you know. Obviously, it's a bit more my uncle, son, daughter, all of those things are also there.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if you really do show.
Yeah, no, but which is why we wanted to do this thing, right? Because I think if you're born in Colombo and if you went to this school, you're like it's advantage that no one else can bet. Whereas, like, you know, my dad didn't come from Colombo. He came from a village, and he somehow was able to be like successful. And that is the reason why we need more and more spaces where bring people together. It doesn't matter which school you went to, it doesn't matter what family you're from, or who you know, who's your uncle, who's your grandfather. It shouldn't matter. And that is why we actually started Colombo Power, because it shouldn't matter where you come from. So hopefully we bring people together under one place, and people should meet and then do cool
Amazing.
things.
Absolutely. And I want to shift the conversation to you for a second. When you moved to the US, you did a night desk job from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m., and then you went for classes at 9 a.m., and you literally, hard work has been in your bones for a very long time. But there are a lot of things that people don't see, like where you really dig deep and you really motivate yourself to get going, and there will be nights that you just want to like stop because like it's a lot. It can take a toll. It can take a toll on your body, but more than that, it can take a toll on your mental health as well.
Yeah.
How did you cope in those moments? Like, how did you realize that you had to keep pushing?
That was my uni job. That was the first job actually that I had, was doing that night desk job. And I think there is this naiveness also when you're so young. Like, I was 19. When you're so young, that it's like, I didn't have this sense of balance or whatever. It was just like what you had to do, because I didn't really want my parents to spend money on my tickets back home. So that's the job I did, to save money to get a ticket back home and, you know, get my living expenses in the US and stuff. So I guess in that sense, in that particular job, I didn't really have like, you have energy, you can go, you can keep going, right? But now I am a little bit more like, okay, I can't do 3 all-nighters anymore. I am like dead. I'm napping the next day. Okay. So but I think again it comes to me to a thing of like what is important right now, and also like understanding that if I put in the work now, but you know, like, then it will pay off. Like, I need to have that, like, I need to now see, okay, if I put in this work, here is my reward. I need to see that now. And whereas I think, but I guess that was the same even when I was in college. It was like a monetary thing, right? Okay, if I can save up $1,500 and get a ticket, that's it. That's what I'm working for all these hours. So I guess it's the same thing for me. I guess it's just like making sure that that goal is achieved, and then just keep going until you get there.
Amazing. And you didn't have any moments where you were just like, where you it just caused like major anxiety or anything like that, where you were just like, this is too much. Like, there has to be another way to do this.
You know, for me, the anxiety comes from more like when things are not happening according to plan, which is bad because life, it doesn't happen according to plan. So, like, for an example, after I graduated, it was really hard for me to find a job here between graduating and joining Amazon, because people aren't sponsoring it. Work visas are really hard to come by in the US. And that was really, really tough time. And mentally, I was like almost depressed, right? I'm like, why? Because I was top of my class. I just don't understand. Okay, I did everything right, but I'm not getting this job. And I think in those ones, you just have, like, even when you're feeling so down, you just have to take like just one little step at a time. Like, if it's not much, just like go for a walk, right? If it's just something, that one thing a day that will keep you moving a little forward, even when you know you just don't want to do it, you just have to do something to move forward. So even those times, I would just keep applying to jobs, you know, like whatever. I will take the calls, and the first call is like, the first question they ask is, do you need sponsorship? And I'm like, yes. And then they're like, oh, sorry, we don't sponsor. And they like don't even call you back, you know. So it was really hard. It was a lot of rejection. And then finally I got to Amazon, and even Amazon didn't sponsor. So I was there for a year, and then I went to Microsoft, which finally sponsored. And it was then at the end, you can then look back and say, okay, all the dots connected now, because I ended up at a dream company with a dream job, but an awesome like coworkers and amazing experience. But you just have to get through that really tough patch and just keep moving, like knowing and believing that it will happen.
Amazing. Do you miss working at Microsoft at all?
I missed a paycheck.
Very fair point.
Yes, I keep telling people, it's like, don't think entrepreneurship is so glamorized, right? It's so glamorized in terms of like, there's so many people out there, oh, I just want to be an entrepreneur. I just wish I don't have to do this job and I just can, start my own business. I'm like, starting a business is not easy. Number one, I miss getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. And, I miss that steadiness. Because there's just like, a lot when you're an entrepreneur. So I think that's my biggest thing that I miss. And I also miss being around so many like smart people. I just realized like, yes, I'm okay. I can work alone. But I really am like energized by people who are in the room who like always make me feel dumber than like anything, like if I walk in and I'm like with open eyes, like listening to what everyone is saying, like that's my kind of place to work.
Amazing. Sajani, I've taken a lot of your time. I know it's really late there. I'm just going to ask you two more questions, and they're very, very short. First question is, obviously the show is going live for kindness. So I just want to know, what does kindness mean to you in your life?
I think at this point, kindness is just being like, kind to yourself. Like, it's okay if you're not, living up your best life right now, or your goals for the year has to change because of what is happening that is beyond your control. So I think one is be kind to yourself and, just like readjust goals, be adaptable and do that. And then be kind to your like family and friends. You just realize when things like that happen, how like amazing and blessed you are to have the people you have in your life. So just give them a call as much as you can. And I think especially at this time, this kindness initiative is awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much for making the time, especially with the time difference and everything. I was just trying to get the best possible time zone.
Yes, I think we got a good time.
I think so too. So Sajani, before you leave, please tell us where people should find your social media when it comes to Collabo Corp and Cola goodies, and also any final thoughts before you go.
The final thought is that we will get through together. I know it's not just going to be the curfew time or this time. It's going to be months of coming back out of this in the economy, but I think we'll all get through it. I mean, we've done this time and time again in the history of the world, so we'll get through it. Just stay safe. Find me, my Instagram at Sajani Amarasiri. Colombo Co-op Instagram is at Colombo Cooperative. And when everything opens up, come join our networking events. Come for an event and just chill with and do cool things.
Amazing. I will be sure to link everything at the end of the day, especially if you have future events as well, so people can find it easier.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you,
Sajani, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good one.
See ya. Bye. So guys, that was Sajani. I've actually been to Colombo Cooperative. It's a very, very cool space. I would love to work out of that space one day if I ever come back to Sri Lanka. Hopefully I do. But yeah, guys, go check her page out. Go check Colombo Cooperative out. She's super cool. She's worked for Microsoft. Like, that's freaking crazy as it is. But yeah, as an individual, like, I've read up on her. She's a super hardworking individual as well. So inspired every day. But guys, I'll be taking a longer break this time because I had to move around sometimes. But I will be back in. I'll be back in 1.5 hours with Yasita, who founded Strong OK. So I'm going to talk with him about fitness and life and, kindness as usual. But yeah, See you guys later. See you soon.